I'm on my second cup for this. Book 13, Kidnapped. Liz has been kidnapped by a cretin who works at the hospital as an orderly. Now, he needs some TLC and some company, so he's got Liz tied up in his lair, and he makes her some shoddy pancakes that just can't compare to the magic that Alice Wakefield regularly serves up to her kids. So poor Liz, she has to eat burnt pancakes. Now, the police are tools in this book because they think that Liz has just run away, even though her car is in the parking lot of the hospital with the door wide open and all her things in it. And meanwhile, when they get there, the police find this kid who's gone to check on Liz. And they think, or the other theory they have is that he's done something to her and he's completely innocent. And we are so lucky that we are dealing with the wonder kids of Sweet Valley High, because when he goes to work, he sees Jessica in her candy striper uniform and he thinks it's Liz gotten away from his lair and yells out, "What are you doing here?" And the kids cotton on right away and they solve this thing. So it's lucky we're dealing with identical twins so that Liz can be restored to the bosom of her family just in the nick of time to close out this book. Book 14, Deceptions. I'm just going to warm my biscuits so that the icing gets nice and gooey. Let's talk. A new family have moved into town. Regina Morrow and her older brother, Nicholas. And Nicholas immediately falls for Liz, even though she's got a boyfriend, and he keeps on pestering her for a date. He figures if she just gets to know me, she'll like me better. And Liz is just, she's just, honestly, she feels like, oh, it would be wrong to deprive this guy of my glorious attention, so I'll go out on one date with him and let him down gently, but it has to be a secret. So she sneaks off with him to a fancy restaurant on the outskirts of town, and Todd is there with his parents, and he sees Liz with Nicholas, the conniving date stealer. So he comes up to the table and Liz pretends to be Jessica, which works at first, but then the shit hits the fan. Todd and Liz have a big bust up, and Nicholas eventually strolls through the debris that he's created and goes to Todd and says, "Look, Liz is not at fault. She doesn't like me. She's really into you, and the coast is clear for you to forgive her and let her be your girl again." And that's what Todd does. I kid you not. That's how these guys think. Book 15, Promises. I love this because Betsy Martin needs help and not all the Wakefields are inclined to give it. Heads up, it's Jessica. Now, Betsy is the troubled older sister of Stephen's saintly dying girlfriend, Trisha, who dies touchingly at the start of this book, and her dying wish to Stephen was to get him to promise to take care of her sister Betsy, even though he is reeling and not up to the task. Betsy is brought home to the Wakefield family because her home is abusive, and she has so many issues. She's got the grief for her sister. She has lousy self-esteem. She has severe distrust of all boy kind. She has drug and alcohol abuse issues as well. And so this is a pretty full-on task. Now, it's not going well. Jessica is messing with her. Betsy's making Stephen miserable, playing on his grief. And Liz is the only one seriously trying to do anything constructive. Now, the good news is, during the path of this book, we discover that Betsy has a wonderful talent, and that is for art. And as we know, in Sweet Valley, a talent is your gateway to total reformation and salvation, and you can become popular and good and well adjusted if you just follow your talent. So Liz gets her involved in an art opportunity, and it does work. She's starting to grow as a person and let go a little bit of Steve, which he needs for his own grief. So it's going well in the end, ultimately, but we had fun getting there. Book 16, Rags to Riches. Do you remember the poor boy who could run really fast, Roger Barrett? Well, his mum dies and he finds out he's actually a Patman, you know, part of the richest douchebag family in town. Now, they claim him and start holding a bunch of society parties and events to welcome him into the family and introduce him to the world. Unfortunately, Mrs. Patman doesn't think he's up to scratch and needs to become more like the lemming douchebag Patmans if he wants to be truly part of their family. So one of the first things that needs to change is his girlfriend Olivia, because Mrs. Patman thinks that she is a crunchy granola type thrift shopper, arty-farty, dirty hippie, and a girl more like Jessica Wakefield would be appropriate. So she starts an unholy alliance with Jessica to bust up Roger and help him become more like the Patmans. So Jessica goes undercover as a friend of Olivia, mentoring her but really sabotaging her, so that the whole relationship with Roger is getting more and more strained and things aren't going well at all. And in the end, after a lot of misery, Roger overhears Mrs. Patman blabbing about her plan with Jessica, and he does the right thing. He stands up in front of everyone, claims Olivia as his girlfriend, says this is the lay of the land, we're together, we love each other the way we are, and that's all there is to it. Yes! Book 17, Love Letters. Carolyn Pierce is lonely because nobody likes her. Newsflash, nobody trusts her because she perpetually gossips about everyone as a misguided way of getting attention. To get more attention, she starts pretending to receive love letters filled with poetry, which is ripped off from dead poets, and she's reading the letters aloud to people left, right and centre like a total little braggart. So people start insisting they meet this guy who's head over heels in love with Carolyn, who conveniently goes to another school, only he doesn't exist, so she's in a bit of a pickle, really. Now, it comes down to it that they're really forcing her hand. If this guy doesn't show up at this party on this night, no one's going to believe her. They already don't, but Liz finds out what she's been doing and feels sorry for her and enables her by producing a pretend boyfriend just in the nick of time. And surprisingly, he gives her the time of day. And I think she may be on the path to reformation. We'll have to see. But definitely Liz saved her ass. Book 18, Head Over Heels. Darling deaf girl Regina is head over heels in love with Bruce the Douche Patman, and he is head over heels in love with her. It's been going on for some time. I just hadn't mentioned it yet. Now, in this book, Regina finds out that she has the opportunity to go to Switzerland to have surgery and some therapies that will enable her possibly to hear for the first time in her life. Only her family knows. She hasn't told anyone else because she plans on not going so that she can stay in Sweet Valley and be with Bruce. Oh my God, that is a terrible decision. Now, actually, the relationship has had a really nice effect on Bruce's personality. He has been a lot less of a douche. He's actually been really wonderful with her. But in the course of this book, his arrogance starts to emerge and she starts to see him in a new way. And she starts to distrust him and think that he might not really love her. He might just be using her as an accessory. So she breaks up with him without any explanation and plans to go to Switzerland. Now, Bruce actually does care. He's heartbroken, doesn't understand why such a nice girl would suddenly dump him without any explanation whatsoever. And he goes crying to Liz, who is Regina's friend, and says, oh, why would Regina do this to me? And Liz actually knows. She's the one person who has found out about this opportunity. And so she tells Bruce. Now, Bruce says to himself, if I go straight to Regina and tell her it's all been a horrible mistake and I really love her, then she won't go and she won't get to hear. So he doesn't say anything. He writes a letter telling her the truth of how he really feels and gets Liz to put it in her suitcase so she doesn't get it until she gets to Switzerland. Oh, I guess he does care. And Regina goes to Switzerland. Book 19, Showdown. Jessica's decided that she wants to steal Lila's boyfriend, even though all readers can tell this guy is no prize. And someone's going to get burnt. Now, the escalation to the point of danger is utterly ridiculous, which is why I give this book 4 stars. The sheer joy of seeing a small number of teenagers disarm a knife-wielding, here I'm struggling to find a word for a highwayman who sticks up his dates. And I had no idea that a cheerleader kick, high kick, could be a form of martial arts. But you see, Jessica is the co-captain of the cheerleading squad, and she brings a high kick to a knife fight and wins. Sweet Valley, I love you.